So I feel like everyone is trying to get that CM Punk fix at the moment. We are so close to All Out. I cannot wait. Hello and welcome to FTTR, I am Hugh McQuaid, and today we are talking CM Punk. Yes, I've found my CM Punk fix. I have watched the best in the world documentary that WWE produced. I think it was a DVD and now it's on the WWE Network documentary about CM Punk. I followed that up by listening to the Art of Wrestling podcast again with Colt Cabana, and I've just got this CM Punk drive. I'm just so excited for CM Punk's debut match. So this is my review of the documentary. Was it any good? It was actually. I think this is one of the better WWE produced documentaries that they've put out. Maybe CM Punk had a bit more influence in this, but I think the reason this documentary really stands out above the rest is that it seems brutally honest in that it sort of portrays, and I don't know if this was the intent of WWE when they put out the documentary, a company that is broken, that is not the way a company should be run. And I think one of the most heartbreaking, if not, really true statements that we can see even now playing out is the company's value of size over substance. For example, when CM Punk was doing terrific on the indies and he got finally signed to WWE, they sent him down to developmental and he started bulking up and it just wasn't for him. But everyone wanted him to bulk up because it's the land of the giants, and that it's just a really harrowing idea that we can still see play out. Like, look at the main events of Raw. You've got Drew McIntyre, you've got Bobby Lashley, you've got Sheamus, you've got Damian Priest. They're all big lads who don't fit, whose archetype CM Punk didn't fit, and that is one of the things that is really presented in this documentary, that he wants to change the company from within. And ultimately, did he succeed? That's up for debate. But there's a lot of interesting stuff in this documentary as well. I'm surprised on how much they touch about his tour of the independents at the beginning, sort of his time in Ring of Honor and sort of elevating that brand. Now, you don't expect to see that sort of crossover. And then it sort of follows through. It goes from his very early days through to his eventual sort of the pipe bomb and Money in the Bank of 2011 is sort of where this documentary climaxes, and him re-signing with the company. And there's a lot of really interesting stuff that is peppered into out here. Like, for me, one of the most interesting parts was about the Straight Edge Society, which I loved. That was my jam back in the day, the Straight Edge Society, because that was sort of, I believe, sort of just after the Jeff Hardy feud. He had Jeff Hardy and then he had The Undertaker, and then I believe he had the Straight Edge Society when he was sort of feuding Rey Mysterio. I love that stuff. I absolutely love that stuff, and seeing how he put it together, all these different elements that went in, sort of the, I believe it's QVC commercials that he was watching in the hotel, came up with this idea of like a cult. Oh, it was just incredible. It was just a really good look at that faction, and he was devastated when it got ruined, which is a shame. The whole Nexus thing happened, and yeah, Straight Edge Society is just another lost idea of CM Punk, which is a shame. And there's just so much wasted potential that I think this documentary shows. Sort of how they didn't believe in him in his first championship run, barely in his second World Heavyweight Championship run, and it's actually quite a, not necessarily an uplifting documentary. It sort of shows how creatively inept WWE are, and it's almost a weird expose of their inner workings. But it's just something about Punk is so captivating to watch, sort of his mindset and his philosophical beliefs, his straight edge lifestyle. There's something about him that just resonates as a complete character. And when you're pairing this documentary with the Art of Wrestling podcast that Punk did with Colt Cabana, and you get all the insight into what was happening, it just adds this new layer. It's like a weird 4-hour experience, because you get sort of this epilogue after he left, and those two together, weirdly, it's like a great double bill. I never thought I'd say that, but those two podcasts, the podcast and the documentary put together. Perfect. But we're strictly talking about the documentary. I think it is one of the most insightful in terms of honesty that WWE have put out. So, CM Punk best in the world. I would give this a solid 4 out of 5. I think it's one of the better produced WWE documentaries. The only negative, and this is really harsh, is that I'd want more. I want sort of like a dark side of the ring perspective on Punk's entire WWE run, not just up to him re-signing and it's sort of ending all, oh yeah, he's re-signed with WWE, because we know it doesn't have a happy ending. And that's something that is more intriguing, but that's what you get from the Art of Wrestling podcast. So, up in the air for me. But yes, terrific documentary. Really enjoyed it. Have you seen CM Punk Best in the World? Sorry if I sound a bit croaky. I've got a cold. It's not very good. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments and I will try and reply to every single one of them. Thank you all ever so much for your support and have a nice day.